The courtroom was silent. Every eye was locked on the woman standing at the witness stand, calm, poised, and alone. Across from her, the prosecutor smirked. He'd done this 100 times before. Intimidate, belittle, break down the person on the stand until they slipped up. But today, he picked the wrong woman. Because before this hearing was over, the woman he mocked would pull out evidence that no one, not even the judge, saw coming. Her name was Danielle Harris, 32 years old, a single mother of 2. By day, she worked as a registered nurse. By night, she was fighting for her freedom. Months earlier, Danielle had been accused of insurance fraud, a serious charge that could send her to prison for up to 10 years. The claim? That she had staged an injury at work to collect compensation. Her employer's insurance company insisted she was lying. And the prosecutor, an ambitious, sharp-tongued man named Thomas Reynolds, was determined to make an example out of her. But Danielle wasn't a con artist. She was a nurse who had actually been injured while lifting a patient. An accident caught no one's attention at the time, but left her with chronic back pain. Still, the system didn't believe her. They said her medical records were falsified. They said her claim didn't add up. And they said she had motive, debt, bills, desperation. But what they didn't know was that Danielle had proof, and she was saving it for the perfect moment. The trial began on a cold Monday morning. The prosecutor strutted into the courtroom like he owned it. He had reporters in the back row. This was his moment to shine. When he questioned Danielle, his tone dripped with sarcasm. "Ms. Harris," he said, pacing slowly, "you expect this court to believe that your injury just happened to occur when your finances were at their worst?" Danielle clasped her hands tightly. "Yes, sir, that's the truth." He smiled, cold, dismissive. "The truth," he repeated mockingly. "You're a nurse. You know how to manipulate medical charts. You had access, didn't you?" The judge glanced at her, waiting for an answer. Danielle swallowed hard. "I didn't falsify anything. I reported my injury as it happened." The prosecutor laughed softly, turning to the jury. "Of course you did, right before your rent was due." A few jurors frowned at the tone, but Reynolds kept going. He was pushing her, trying to make her stumble. "You're a smart woman, Ms. Harris. Maybe too smart. Tell us, when exactly did you decide to turn your medical expertise into a scam?" A ripple of discomfort spread through the courtroom. Danielle's attorney rose. "Objection," badgering the witness. "Sustained," the judge said, but Reynolds smirked again. He'd made his point, or so he thought. When it was Danielle's turn to testify fully, her lawyer gave her a nod. It was time. She took a deep breath, then reached into a folder. "Your Honor," she said, her voice steady, "I'd like to submit additional evidence not yet reviewed by the prosecution." Reynolds frowned. "Objection, this is irregular." But the judge raised a hand. "I'll allow it. Proceed." Danielle handed the clerk a small USB drive. The clerk plugged it in, and within seconds, the courtroom monitors flickered to life. Grainy black and white footage appeared. Security camera footage. Timestamp from the night of her accident. The video showed Danielle working in the hospital. She was lifting a patient onto a stretcher when suddenly her back gave out. She collapsed to the floor, clutching her side. Nurses rushed to help her. And there on camera was the undeniable moment she was injured. Gasps filled the courtroom. The judge leaned forward. The jurors exchanged stunned looks. The prosecutor's face turned pale. Where did this come from?" he stammered. Danielle looked right at him. "From the hospital's secondary security system, the one no one thought to check. The footage was archived on a backup server." Reynolds blinked, speechless. He'd built his entire case on the assumption that Danielle had no evidence, that her story was weak. Now his entire argument was collapsing. The judge turned to him. "Mr. Reynolds, did your office review this footage?" Reynolds hesitated. We weren't aware of its existence." The judge's tone hardened. "You should have been." The courtroom was silent except for the soft hum of the monitors. Then Danielle spoke again, this time with quiet strength. "You called me a liar," she said. "You mocked me for trying to provide for my children. But I told the truth. I always did. You just didn't want to listen. Even the jurors seemed moved. One woman dabbed her eyes with a tissue. The atmosphere had shifted completely. When closing arguments came, Reynolds's once confident voice was shaky. He mumbled through his points, knowing they no longer mattered. Danielle's lawyer, meanwhile, spoke with calm precision. She didn't just defend herself, he said. She defended her dignity. The jury took less than 2 hours to deliberate. When they returned, the foreperson stood and read the verdict. On the charge of insurance fraud, we find defendant Danielle Harris not guilty. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Danielle covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. The judge smiled faintly. "Ms. Harris, you are free to go." Reynolds sat motionless, staring at his papers. The same arrogance he'd shown at the start was gone. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed. Reporters crowded around Danielle, asking how she felt. She simply said, "I didn't come here to win. I came here to be heard. And for once, I finally was." That day, a woman the system tried to silence proved that evidence and truth still have power. And that sometimes the most shocking thing in a courtroom is not the crime. It's the truth they tried to ignore.